Righto, welcome to another episode. So it's getting to that time of year, holiday season, and I thought it was fitting to do a Christmas episode. So this time of year, everyone's, putting on a bit of a spread, getting those cheese platters out there, a bit of salami, a bit of ham, a bit of cheese, all that good stuff. And we all need a good chopping board or some sort of serving board, one of those things. So I figured this would be a good opportunity to use my newly built router sled to mill up a few boards and so there we go. So if you are new to the channel, remember to hit that like and subscribe button and give me a bit of an early Christmas present. And let's get into it. Righto, so this beauty you see in front of me is my new router sled that I've just built. So I will have a video coming out soon on how I built this, but it's a standalone unit. Don't have to worry about any imperfections on if my workbench has got stuff all over it or, like little dips here and there. So it's all flat, aluminium, perfectly straight, level, all that sort of good stuff that you want from a router sled. But for now, let's just see how she goes. So I wouldn't mind experimenting with a few different types of boards, but first one is the old offcut from the workbench. So it's been just sitting up on the mezzanine for a bit and turned into a bit of a seesaw. So I'm pretty much going to do kind of a long serving board. This was a bit of a request from someone. So how we go with this, and I'll try to work out the best way to go about it. But first thing I'm going to do is just cut the rough width that I want it, and I'll see how thick it'll end up being after I mill it down. So let's get into it. So this 1-day job's just turned into a minimum 2-day job. The bow in the timber was just way too much, and I would end up with like 10mm board in the end. So just trying to see how much I could bend it down, and then it just cracked. What I'm gonna have to do now is, I was either just gonna make a smaller one, but I was just thinking, I'm like, oh, well, I might as well go all out now. So I'm just gonna cut my width of the whole sort of board. Then I'm just gonna cut all the edge grain. So I'll just cut like little, I don't know, like 50mm increments or however thick I want the board, and big glue up. So this turned into something a little bit more than I thought it was going to be, but I think it'll look good in the end. So so there's all the pieces cut. I'll give them a bit of a sand on all the edges just to make sure they're all perfectly flat, and then I'll just alternate the grain. Now when I glue this up, I'm just using a Bond wood glue. It's a water resistant, solvent free glue, and it's PVA, so it dries clear, so that's easy to clean up, and I can sand back later and it's not going to stain the wood. So sand these up, get them onto the clamps and put them back there so I can work on a few other things on the workbench. So let's do it. Righto, so that's going to dry overnight. Tell you what, it's been a while since I've done a glue up like that. I got a bit worried halfway through that, but got there in the end. So while that's drying, I can play around with a few other bits of wood that I've got. So I've had this random bit of black butt laying around the house that I've just been using for like hot pots and stuff. So I might have a crack at flattening this out because it's got a bit of a bow in it. Not too much, but It's probably a good for maybe 3 mil. So I'll set up the router sled and I'll take this down, mill it down to flat, and then yeah, I'll give it a nice finish. So yeah, let's do that. Righto, so now that she's all flat, all sanded, ready to roll, but there's still one more thing I've got to do. So because I want to actually use this as a chopping board, there's a couple of tiny little cracks that you can't really have if you're like chopping any meats or anything like that, because you know, you get a bit of bacteria or something in there. So what I'm going to do is, I've got a bit of this 2-part epoxy, and I'm pretty much just going to fill all the holes and then wait for it to dry and then sand again. So this will be pretty simple, I think. I don't know, I've never used this stuff before. So what I'm gonna do is just pretty much fill all these cracks in. And it looks like it's only on one side, so that's a plus. Fill all the cracks in, let it dry, sand it back. Easy done. Do it. Righto, so she's all dry. I've popped it off the clamps, and pretty happy with how it's turned out. There's a couple of slight little bits that have just sort of moved on me that I didn't notice, but overall not too bad. Like, there's no real movement in the slab, and yeah, pretty happy. So what I'll do now is I'll just scrape off all this glue that spill out and everything, and then I'll give it a quick light once over with the router, try get it as flat as I can, see if I've got to go deeper. I want to try take off the smallest amount as I can. So yeah, let's do it. That's worked out pretty good, so pretty happy with that. I do have this little hole here that I think I'm just gonna have to end up cutting that little piece off, so it'll just be a bit shorter. Thought I might have been able to get away with it with the round over bit, but looks like it goes all the way through. But anyway, other than that, pretty happy with it. So what I'm gonna do is give it a bit of a sand while it's here, and then yeah, I'll tidy up all the edges with the saw, and I'll look into what sort of shape I want to do on it. So after I sanded it back, decided that I do want to fill all the little tiny little like sap holes and stuff like that with the epoxy resin. So I'm going to put that on and wait another day before I sand it again. But before I do, I'm actually going to do a test on that other piece that I did. So I've just sanded this back, see how this goes with the finish, make sure it doesn't react or anything. If it works good on this, then I'll do it onto the bigger piece. Alrighty, so another night back in the shed. I'm running out of time here. This might not even be a Christmas special anymore. It might be a New Year's one. But yeah, so I think I'm just gonna get stuck into it, sand this back, cut it all to size, put the edge on it, and then I'll be able to put the finish on it. So yeah, let's just get stuck into it. Righto, so here she is. So to get to this stage, we've hit it with the router sled, flattened it up on both sides. I've filled any imperfections with that resin, and then I've sanded that back again, done the other side. So I've filled in on both sides, so there's 2 nights there just waiting for resin to dry. And yeah, tonight I've just squared off all the corners, so I've got a nice squared off board now. So now I can finally get the router out and hit it with the round over bit to smooth out all these edges. So I'm going to do that on both sides, and yeah, should be pretty straightforward. So let's do it. Alrighty, so once you've sanded it a lot, note to self, if you're making one of these for someone, remind them how much effort you put into it. But anyway, so happy with the finish after I've sanded it. So that's good to go. I ended up finishing it with a 240 grit paper. Just helps with the wax really settling in there, and it's pretty smooth. So anyway, I've done a test bit on a bit of offcut that I had, so I'm pretty happy with the finish. I'll end up doing probably 2 coats, I reckon. So essentially, just get a cloth and you just rub it in. All I'll just do is just rub it in until it's worked into the timber, let it sort of settle for a bit, and then I'll come back and buff it back, let it dry for a bit, do the other side, same deal, and then wait probably 15 minutes or so and give it another coat, and that's pretty much it. I will add, when I did sand it, I did 1 pass with the paper and then I wet it. So you can either just, if you don't want to wait, you can probably just use methylated spirits because it dries up real quick. So all it does is just brings out the grain a bit, so all the sort of grain sort of stands up, and then you can sand it again. So if you don't do that, what could happen if you did wash the board later, that'll happen after, and then you end up getting like a sort of a furry texture on the timber after it's finished, which we don't want. So let's start slapping on this wax. Forgot to mention, this wax is a kitchen safe wax, so it's food safe, I should say. And yeah, nothing really much else to say apart from let's just hurry up and get this thing on the timber. Mate, tell you what, that's turned out a hell of a lot better than I thought it was gonna. This is the bit of black butt I done. So I only did 1 coat on this one, and I buffed it to like a real matte sort of finish, so you can sort of see the difference there, but different timber, so it's a whole different ball game. But yeah, don't mind this one as well. Nice solid bit of wood there. So probably brings us to that time for me to say thanks to everyone who's subscribed. And for those who haven't, wouldn't mind it, but you know, you do you. I think it's about time to load up a few cheese and bickies on this thing and serve up a bit of a charcuterie board. But yeah, for those who celebrate it, Merry Christmas. For those who don't, Happy Holidays, and have a Happy New Year. See you in the next one. Cheers.
We wish you a Merry Christmas. We wish